And the question that I want to challenge you with today is, what do you do when God sends a test your way that makes you question the very thing that he promised you? Let me make it a little more practical for you. God promised you a new home, but every time you apply for a loan, you get denied. Or better yet, you get the new home and 6 months in, you lose your job and you find yourself struggling to keep the new home. What do you do when God promised you will have a family of your own, yet you find yourself struggling to conceive, or better yet, the doctors tell you that you're not able to? Or God promised you that you will be a business owner, or have a business of your own, but you need to walk away from your current job in order to start it. Let's go back to Genesis 17, where we see God promising a 99-year-old Abraham that he will be the father of many nations. And the promise was on him and his wife Sarah's future son Isaac. Mind you, at this point, Abraham and Sarah had just about given up trying to have a child. In my mind, rightfully so. Because even today, it's hard for me to fathom a 100-year-old couple trying to have kids. Maybe that's just me. Maybe my faith is not that great. But how many of you know that when God speaks a promise over your life, no time, no date, no age can stop the fulfillment of God's promise? Only doubt and the lack of belief can cancel out the mighty move of God. If we jump to Genesis 21, see, Genesis 17, we see God promising Abraham would be the father of many nations. In Genesis 22, we now see 100-year-old Abraham and his wife Sarah giving birth to their son Isaac. Even at the age of 100 years old, God is still fulfilling promises. Now we find ourselves at Genesis 22, where we see the very promise that God has spoken and fulfilled to Abraham is now being tested. God, how are you going to give me something and then turn around and test me? You gave me the house. Now I'm about to lose the house. You gave me the child. And now you want me to take the life of this child. What's a good test if it doesn't challenge who you are? If it doesn't challenge your thinking? If it doesn't make you question the very thing that you know? If it doesn't challenge you, it's not strengthening you. Webster's dictionary says that a test is the procedure or measure to check the quality and performance and the reliability of something. Understand this: Satan tempts, but God tests. Satan tempts to destroy you. God tests to build and strengthen you. The very thing God promised you will be put to the test to see if you're prepared or equipped to handle what you're asking for and what God has promised you. Let me say that again for the people in the back. The very thing God promised you will be put to the test to see if you're prepared and equipped to handle what you're asking for and what God has promised you. The purpose of the test is to confirm, to prove, and to validate. Somebody, I came here today just to verbally lay hands on you and tell you how great things you must suffer for God's name's sake. Everything that you're going through, everything that you're dealing with, everything that you've been put through, all the tests that God is sending in your way is for you to suffer for his name's sake. Songwriter says, and he never failed me yet. And I never shall forget. And he never failed me yet. And I never shall forget. And he never failed me yet. Somebody needs to get that chant in their spirit right now, that when you're going through, you need to remind yourself, and he never failed me yet. And I never shall forget. And he never failed me yet. And I never shall forget. And he never failed me yet. And I never shall forget when God told Abraham to take your son to that mountain and sacrifice him. Let me put it in plain English. Take your son to that mountain and kill him. And he never failed me yet. And I never shall forget when God says that you're going to have a house, but you keep applying for loans after loans, but you keep getting denied. And he never shall forget. And he never failed me yet. When you find yourself in a hospital and the doctor give you a bad report and you begin to question God, he never failed me yet. And I never shall forget. Somebody needs to know that the test that God sends you is the best test because it's given to you by the God who is the author of all tests.